is Senator Ibrahim Gogo, proposing a motion on the banditry in Sokoto, particularly Sokoto Senatorial District. The motion was actually born out of genuine desire for people to see exactly what is happening in Sokoto currently. So, the Senate notes that Sokoto Senatorial District has now become a safe haven for the bandits due to the current crackdown taking place in Zamfara State. Concerned that on Saturday, 25th September 2021, 21 security personnel were killed in Dama and the Gangara villages by rampaging bandits. 15 of them soldiers, 3 mobile police, while 3 members of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. In addition to yet to be ascertained the number of civilians from the neighboring villages. This has gone to portray the seriousness of the problem, which requires concerted and urgent action by the declaration of total war on banditry. In fact, the information received now is that about 15 civilians were killed. Some were burnt alive in the rumbu where they are putting grains. What is that? Losing such a number of trained security personnel will further deplete the numerical strengths of the security personnel we have in the country, thereby jeopardizing the security architecture of the country. Further worried that most of the bandits have now relocated to Southern Benin and the East local governments due to the sustained military operation at the Zamfara State axis. Concerned that while the crackdown on the bandits was taking place in Zamfara State, no concerted effort or concrete measures had been taken in Sokoto State, leaving it totally exposed to the activities of the bandits. And further worried that the present military onslaught on the bandits is not well coordinated because it is only being orchestrated in Zamfara State instead of all the frontline states ravaged by banditry, i.e. Sokoto, Katsina, Niger, and the Kaduna states. The operation should be holistic instead of restrictive in order to produce effective and desired results. And therefore, in this case, the various governments, state governments, should actually take the path of Zamfara State to make sure that they also have the same onslaught in their states. Therefore, the Senate accordingly resolves to observe 1 minute silence in honor of the fallen heroes and the civilians who lost their lives in the unwholesome activities of the bandits. 2, urge the President and Commander-in-Chief to declare the bandits as terrorists and urge total war against them, including bombing all their locations to annihilate and eliminate them. B, declare the non-leadership of the bandits wanted and track them wherever they are to arrest, for arrest and prosecution. And C, direct NEMA and other relevant government agencies to, as a matter of urgency, give all the necessary support to the victims of the menace of banditry in Sokoto and other parts of the country. In actual fact, as I'm talking now currently, people are leaving these villages to the neighboring regional republic. So I think if care is not taken, more than 50% of the local government will now move to the Republic of Niger because there is no help coming from the government. Thank you very much.
Senator Kabir.
I'm Kabiru Gaya, represent the people of Kano South from Kano State. Mr. President, thank you for giving me the opportunity to support the motion moved by Senator Gobir being that I'm the a co-sponsor of this motion, we are really disturbed with the insecurity situation in this country. Remember that, Mr. President, you have tried your best, with the chamber, the Senate did their best, in inviting the security so many times to this chamber, at the same time asking what are their problems. Most of the problems are funding, and funds were provided to them to make sure they do their job. Unfortunately, the situation is getting worse. There are so many towns and states having this problem day and night. I know the situation in Dampara. The government have tried another measures by trying to cut off the lines, no network communication, and I believe it is working in Dampara. And therefore, when we are treating a problem in one location, we try to treat them in all the locations so that the bandits should not be escaping from one angle to another. We remember, Mr. President, yesterday, we were in the chamber here when a group of people, the Shiite, came in and did an attack in Gwarumpa, and 8 people were killed in that place. They also have another uprising in Mararaba from around the Yanyan area. So if we are not careful, Mr. President, without us knowing, they will soon come and invade Abuja. So therefore, Mr. President, there should be serious concern and intelligence network on the activities of these people. So I therefore commend the praise raised by the sponsor of this motion. When we come to that, I support that. If there's any additional prayer, Mr. President will add. Recently also in Kaduna, just yesterday, bandits came in, attacked a whole village, and killed more than 10 people. So the issue of security, Mr. President, is a prime matter. Therefore, all measures we need to take and take a decision on this motion and put up prayers so that the government can be able to consider those prayers and act as fast as possible. As a very serious matter, Mr. President, I will appeal to my colleagues to look at this matter seriously and be able to come up with solutions for the government to use. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Uche Kunefe.
I represent Anambra Central. I'm from Anambra State. Mr. President, I would like to commend the mover of this motion. And in commending him, Mr. President, I want to remind you that during your campaign as the President of the 9th Senate, security was one of the major key points of your campaign. And during our legislative agenda, when we were setting up our legislative agenda, security too was one of the key points of that legislative agenda. But what is happening in the country today, Mr. President, is something that is becoming unmitigated. Security has gone so bad in this country that we have to be very, very careful and very stringent in ensuring that we provide solution for the issues at hand. It's not about Sokoto State. Mr. President, across the whole Nigeria, across the whole nation, security has become menace. It has become cancerous. It has become so bad that the situation is becoming terrible, that uncontrollable too. Mr. President, security of lives and property is the primary responsibility of every government. Few motions we took this morning, or few bills we took this morning, are the bills that will address poverty. In addressing poverty, security also is a major part of what this Senate and what I feel the government should immediately treat. Mr. President, apart from the bandits, kidnapping, the issue of kidnapping, the issue of killing, now bandits go to hotels, even in Abuja. Armed robbers go to hotels, terrorize the inmates of the hotels, rob them, kill them, and move. In the southeastern part of the country, you can't even move freely on the roads anymore. They will kill you, murder you, drop you on the road. In southwestern part of the country, the same thing. It's becoming so bad that government has to do something very quickly, otherwise it will go out of hands. And it will get to a level where finding solution will be very problematic. Mr. President, even in Abuja here, yesterday somebody was kidnapped in Gudu. Gudu just has boundary with Asokoro. Somebody was kidnapped in that place yesterday. So I feel that it's not just about Sokoto. We have to do something very urgently about security. I think the president has to address the nation. It has come to a level when he has to just address the nation on security. It's getting off hands. We must call a spade a spade. The sense of occupying sensitive position is to ensure that citizens, get the best out of that government. And what are the citizens looking for from the leaders? Security and the welfare, their security and their welfare. I think we're no longer talking on the floor of the Senate. The time has come when the executive has to address the nation on security. The president must address the nation on security. That is my submission, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, Mr. President, I stand to support this motion and also to add that this Senate, as we've started and we've gotten to this appreciable level, should continue till we get to the end. The unfortunate incidents in Sokoto and other places, especially generally Northwest and North Central, is worrisome. This Senate has done everything, including the recently passed and signed into law supplementary budget to address. And let us at this time also commend the Nigerian Army and other security agencies for doing their best. What we are faced with is very different, and I don't think most of us imagined that such thing will happen by the bandits. Having said that, the Nigerian Army responded even before this current Chief of Army Staff established a center in Katsina, particularly Faskari, where they have an operational base. But you know, the Northwest, Sokoto, KB, Zamfara is wide, and their thinking is to concentrate on Zamfara now, Katsina, moving to Sokoto, but as we say, things are getting really out of hand. What we need to do is to actually provide our own ideas generated from the people we represent, since we have a closer contact with them. And secondly, what we are faced with now in that particular area is the embarrassing humanitarian crisis that is coming along with it. In the prayers, Mr. President, we need to look at it and expand it a bit and make it holistically so that it can touch on other areas, particularly the humanitarian crisis. And if there's any other advice that we could give the security agencies. I was with the Chief of Army Staff on this issue. And I want to tell our colleagues that the Chief of Army Staff is from Sokoto, and I don't know, I think he's from that senatorial district. So he is also particularly concerned. But we cannot stop, but continue to give them the support and necessary advice so that this embarrassing situation will be brought to an end. Thank you, Mr.
We go to the prayers. Prayer 1, observe the fallen heroes and civilians who lost their lives in unwholesome activities of the bandits. Those in favor of prayer 1, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Prayer 2, urge the President and the Commander-in-Chief to A, declare the bandits as terrorists and wage total war against them, including bombing all their locations to annihilate and eliminate them. Those in favor of this prayer, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. 2B, declare all the known leadership of the bandits wanted and track them wherever they are for arrest and prosecution. Those in favor, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. And 2C, direct NEMA and other related federal government agencies to, as a matter of urgency, give all necessary support to the victims of the menace of banditry in Sokoto and other parts of the country. Those in favor of this prayer, say aye. Those against, say nay, the ayes have it. Senator Alumni.
For emphasis. and that is require the Ministry for Humanitarian Affairs to address the current humanitarian crisis in that area.
I need a seconder.
Thank
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the additional prayer, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. That will be prayer 3. Distinguished colleagues, I think the issue of insecurity is one issue that will never get tired of debating here. And we must commend our armed forces and other security agencies. These people give their lives in trying to secure this country. And that is the ultimate sacrifice anybody could pay. I believe that they are doing their best, but we also need to do our best as a government by giving them the kind of resources that they need. So I believe that we have done that in the supplementary budget, like pointed out, but we also need to improve the annual appropriation for them. If we could pass over 800 billion in the supplementary budget, I don't see why we cannot improve the resources up to 1 trillion and then hold our security agencies accountable. And I believe that we need to monitor the procurement processes when we give such kind of resources to our armed forces. The security-related committees, particularly the armed forces-related committees, defense, army, navy, and air force committees need to watch very closely the procurement processes by these services. We must ensure that funds appropriated are not put in the wrong areas. Point of order, leader. Colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate sees beyond the 2 p.m. in order for us to take the bills for concurrence, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. So I believe that we can do better by providing more resources to our armed forces to ensure that this fight is taken to its logical conclusion. Leader of the Senate. Oh, we have 1 minute silence. 1 minute silence. May the souls of our fallen heroes and compatriots rest in perfect peace. Amen. Leader of the Senate.